for joining the city's Business Advisory Committee to learn about the recently launched Access to Capital Small Business Recovery Program. I'm Dialva Wilson, chair of the committee, and also a member of the the city's COVID Recovery Task Force. The city's Business Advisory Committee is comprised of 20 volunteers that advise the city of Charlotte on legislative and operational policies to help advance success and sustainability for businesses in the city. We turn our attention today to the city's Access to Capital Small Business Recovery Program. It is a part of the city's Open for Business initiative. The recovery program aims to provide funding rapidly, accessibly, and equitably for Charlotte's diverse small business community. Our panelists are available to answer some questions towards the end of today's session. Please submit your questions via the chat box on Facebook or YouTube. This evening, we have Mayor Pro Tem Julie Eiselt and Councilmember James Mitchell. They will share why supporting small businesses is essential and necessary for developing a greater Charlotte. With that, we welcome remarks from Mayor Pro Tem Eiselt, followed by remarks from Councilmember Mitchell.
All right, everyone, I think I'd have this figured out by now. Everybody, as Dialva said, I'm Mayor Pro Tem Julie Eiselt, and I want to thank the City Business Advisory Committee for hosting this event. The city has partnered with the Foundation for the Carolinas to launch our Access to Capital Small Business Recovery Program that will seek to distribute $30 million in our federal CARES Act funding to our local businesses that are impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. And in particular, we really want to focus on our small businesses of employees of 25 and below who did not get access to funding through the federal government's PPP program. So that really is our focus. We launched the program on Monday, June 22nd. And we could probably put in the chat box the link to the foundation's website so that everybody can go to that link and learn more about the program. But first, I also mentioned a big thank you I want to say to our city's staff, our economic development team, for all they did, the hard work they put into structuring this program and really trying to get it right when we really didn't know everything we needed to know at the time from the federal government as to how this program could run. So they worked really hard. They started by launching an initiative called Open for Business, and you can find that on the city's website. And the Open for Business initiative is separate from the CARES Act money, but what it was is it was a platform that businesses could go and register to be a part of so that small businesses could communicate with the public and with each other if they are open, in what form they are open, what services they offer, and that sort of thing, and kind of have that as a platform to get their message out and to share information with each other. So since then, we've really, the city has built out that site. Staff has done a great job, and you can, please go to that and check for resources on that site. I had the question asked that you all wanted me to address as to why it's important for the city to support local small business owners. And that's easy because nationally, and Charlotte follows this pattern, our economy is made up of 70% of small businesses. So it is critical that we help our small businesses to navigate these very choppy and unknown waters of COVID-19 so that A, they can reopen, and B, they can recover and thrive, and C, help build confidence in our consumer markets so that people will come back and shop and dine and use professional services in these sites. So the city had a very important role to play in that. We did it a little bit in the dark, as I said, because this is an unprecedented pandemic in our lifetime at least, and we're still working on it to tweak it and get it right. So we really are appreciative of the BAC's help in doing this and all of the small business leaders who have helped us out to learn how to how to navigate and move forward and figure out what's the best thing that we can do for our small businesses. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Mitchell, who is here on the fly from a business trip, I think, just came in the door. So I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And good evening, everyone, to the Business Advisory Council. And I'm apologize in advance. I got this nice dinner in front of me. So please forgive me while I partake in this fried chicken, potato salad, and green beans. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for laying the foundation of why the city is committed to our small business community. Again, we are thrilled. I cannot say that enough, thrilled and excited to be partnered with the Foundation for the Carolinas to launch this online application that took place this Monday, June 22nd. Applications will be available to July 31st. Let me just share with you what I am hearing from the business community, and there's been a lot of thank you, thank you, thank you. Our business community clearly has been hurting since the month of April, and they look to our city leaders to provide some type of relief. They have challenged us to come up with a creative way, and Mayor Pro Tem would tell you that she's spent time with leaders all throughout the country, and this is the first model of its type throughout the United States. Why supporting the Access to Capital program is so important for us, for this mayor and city council? I think for three reasons: job creation, sustaining and making sure our small businesses survive and thrive, and we want to continue to be a city where entrepreneurs look and say, we are pro-business friendly, and that is the city of Charlotte. I look forward to the rest of the program and answering any questions, and I think we're here to 7 o'clock. So, and can I say a special thank you to the chair, Ms. DeAlva Glenn. We started working on this, I think, around the March time frame, when I asked DeAlva to go out and get anecdotal information about how our small businesses at the airport were being hindered by the lack of traffic. Then DeAlva expanded that information gathering, and she worked with Councilmember Bakari, and they had town hall meetings. So thank you, DeAlva, to your leadership and to the Small Business Advisory for being a such important advisory council to the city of Charlotte.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchell. Now we'd like to welcome Holly Eskridge. If you don't know Holly, you should know Holly. She's a part of the Economic Development Committee or department at the city, and she, along with Jerry Ann Jackson, Christy Floyd, and others in the committee, have just done a remarkable job of taking all of the feedback that we received from all of you in the city of Charlotte, synthesizing that data, and really helping to shape a program that we feel very proud of. As everyone has mentioned, this is an unprecedented time, and there's so many businesses who are suffering and struggling during this time, and to be able to pull something together in the short period of time that is so robust and well thought out and encompasses our feedback is just really remarkable. So I do want to thank not only Holly and Jerry and Christy, but all the other staff members who participated and responded so well. Now I'd like to welcome Holly and also Laura Smith from the Foundation for the Carolinas to present the Access to Capital Small Business Recovery Program. I would like to remind you to please put your questions in the chat box on Facebook or YouTube. We want to answer as many of your questions as we can. Obviously, we can't be having open town hall right now, and so we have to use the tools that we have available. So thank you for all of you for being here tonight. Holly.
Thank you so much, DeAlva, and to Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Mitchell, for the kind words. And we're really excited about this program. It's absolutely been a team effort, not just within our department, but I would say actually, and with the foundation, but also with our small business community. And we really we really are so proud of what we're about to present to you today. So as Mayor Pro Tem, when she opened up, talked about, the city launched this Open for Business campaign. And as part of that campaign, I always like to just kind of review this at the very beginning, there's two elements of it. There's the survive component, which is what we're in right now, and I'll go into a little more detail about that on the next slide. And then there's the thrive component. And the Thrive component is really saying once we have our workforce and our small businesses in a healthier, more stable place, then how do we help them thrive and have future success? So City Council has designated $50 million to that Survive and Thrive strategy. And the first $35 million, which is listed on this chart here, is what we call Survive First Round. And today I will be talking to you, or Laura and I will be talking to you about the first program, but I want to go into the other ones. I always like to go over these because our community is very engaged. We're very grateful, and I know there's some questions around these. So the Small Business Partner Support is a grant program that Christy Floyd and our team is actually leading. And that's looking at our partners in the community that currently and have worked for at least 2 years with small businesses, and how can we better support them, either expanding their operations to meet the demand or doing a pivot and creating something new that meets small businesses directly where they need it the most. The second is actually the Open Business. It's really more of a website. And so this website or this portal is a one-stop shop for information like this Access to Capital program is listed on there. There's going to be some amazing storytelling that we're working on right now, really, that highlights what our amazing small businesses are doing in Charlotte and how they are pivoting and changing and truly surviving and thriving. The next two initiatives are workforce development initiatives. The first is intensive career cohorts. So my coworker, Emily Cantrell, runs these two initiatives. Intensive career cohorts look at those industry verticals such as renewable energy, technology, trade and logistics that have seen continuous job openings during the COVID-19 and the stay-at-home order. And so how do we take our workforce, how do we upskill them into those jobs, pay them a living wage while they're getting trained, and then have a job placement at the end of the training? The next one is workforce partner support. This is very similar to the small business partner support, but it's actually for our workforce development partners that are truly helping the community when it comes to accessing jobs and the appropriate training. And then last is a small business accelerator. This one really looks at how do we help our small businesses in the time of COVID-19, when innovation is really the most critical thing to help them survive and thrive. So that is the overall Survive Round 1. So Access to Capital. We really designed this program based on direct feedback from the Small Business Recovery Task Force and our elected officials that said it must be as easy and as accessible as possible, and you must prioritize businesses that have not previously received federal, state, or we have another program, the Micro Business Relief Fund, that we launched in May. So that fund, either that's run through LISC. So going through some of the qualifications, the first is the headquarters of the business must be located within the Charlotte city limits. We're looking at employees that are 25, or small businesses with 25 or less employees. So 5 or less employees is eligible for an award of $10,000. 6 to 25 employees is eligible for an award of $25,000. We do require a W-3 to be submitted with your application for the 6 to 25 that verifies and lists out your employees. Your total gross sales must be at least $30,000 and less than $2 million in 2019. And then the business must have started before January 1st, 2020. And that the business cannot be in current bankruptcy proceedings. And then we need the biggest part of this money that I would say that we've known through and through. The guidelines around this money keep coming out as far as what the city would be required to provide to the federal government. But the one thing that is absolutely true is it has always said that we must demonstrate that this money is going to alleviate the impacts of COVID-19. So there's 2 ways that we do that. The first is if you fall under the governor's executive order, then your business obviously can show direct COVID-19 impact because there are restrictions placed on your business. And this is all on the application that the Foundations for the Carolinas is actually administering for us. And then the second, if you do not fall under the executive order, then we would need a signed statement of impact of COVID-19. And that statement needs to be notarized as well. Again, this is the most important part of the program for us to be able to tell the federal government how we use their funding. So In addition to the application, which will take about 25 to 30 minutes to complete, we are requiring that 3 documents be uploaded. So on the first column here, first category, at least 1 document from that list is required, and I'm going to go over these. You can actually do all 3 from this list. You can do 2 of the 3 from this list, but at least 1 must come from this list. So the IRS letter with your business name and EIN, a bank statement with the business name, and that has to be within the last 3 months, a utility bill with your business name, again within the last 3 months, a mortgage statement with the business name, again within the last 3 months, a sales and use tax report from Mecklenburg County from 2020, and an active, so a current certificate of insurance with the business name. We cannot accept one that has expired. So really, and again, to make this as accessible as possible, we wanted to provide some additional options that businesses can submit. Again, these can be those other 2 documents that are required. So from your 2018 or 2019 tax return, Form 1040 Schedule C for our sole proprietors, Form 1065 for our partnerships and LLCs, and Form 1120 for our C Corps, and lastly, Form 1120S for our S Corps. We can also accept a lease agreement with the business name. That lease agreement needs to be signed and current. We need a balance sheet from 2019, and then also you can submit a balance sheet from 2019, and then you also can submit a profit and loss statement from 2019. So eligible uses of the funding. This funding, and there is a place on the application where you'll identify how you're going to use the funding within these categories. So you can use it for mortgage assistance, rental assistance, utilities, payroll, and supplies and inventory. So we're going to go over the timeline really quick, and then I'm actually going to turn it over to Laura Smith to go over some helpful tips that they've been finding when people have been submitting applications this week, and then any other information that she would love to add to this. So we are actually past the program design phase, as it launched on Monday, which you'll see that on the timeline as well. And this is sort of our last week. We'll continue to do community outreach, but really we've been very intensive on doing these webinars. I would say to date, I think the webinars we've done have reached over 6,000 participants. Yeah, we feel really good about that, so we're really trying to get the word out. And I would say the foundation as well, which Laura can talk a lot more about, has a really robust plan as well, where they're really trying to promote this program and educate the community. And that is something that will continue throughout. So we're issuing the checks for the Phase 1 application or period on June 30th. And then we're probably looking at the week of July 6th. And then what we're doing during this time, but then really we'll look at that sort of week of July 13th, is while we can't use this money to, with federal money, you cannot put in a lot of people ask, can you do a preference for minority and women small businesses? And you can't do that with this federal money. However, we are collecting that data in the application. And so we're really looking at things like, are all the geographies representative throughout the city? It's important for this to go citywide. And then are all the different types of small businesses represented as well? So we're really being very conscientious of that. And then if there is an underrepresented geography or type of business, then how do we create a plan to really reach out to get more of them into the Phase 2 application cycle? And then I'm not going to go into too much, Laura will go into this too, but they are going to do some clinics as well where small businesses can come in and get assistance with filling out their application. The Phase 2 application cycle opens up on July 20th, and then we will be issuing checks the week of August 3rd. That's what our schedule says for the Phase 2 applications. Business surveys, this is really the only thing that to receive our money that we require that you do in return. And really, there's all kinds of things that we're going to have to, in a summary format, report back to the federal government to really show the impact of these funds, and so that business survey allows us to be able to collect that data. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to turn it over to Laura to see if she, Laura, if you have anything you want to add on this timeline, or I can flip it to the helpful tips, which is the next slide.
Holly, why don't you go ahead and flip it? And before I start, I just want to say how excited the foundation is and proud to be part of a partnership like this with the city. So we are thrilled to be a part of this. Wanted to just give a few helpful tips. We're starting to see applications flowing, which we're very excited about. But we're seeing some errors in those applications, and we're hoping that if we gave a few helpful tips that maybe some mistakes will not occur going forward. And then also just want to say we'll be sharing a number that you can call. So if anywhere along the application process, if you need support, we hope that you'll call in and let us help you through the application process. But what you want to do is, one of the things you want to do that we're looking for in the application process is to make sure that if you're using your EIN for your business or your Social Security number, make sure it matches throughout the application. So if that number is changing throughout the application, again, we're trying to verify that you're an ongoing business. And one of those ways to do that is to make sure that the paperwork that you're filling out, as well as the paperwork that you're handing us, that those match, that those are one and the same. So if you can double check and make sure that those numbers are matching throughout the process, that's going to be helpful. Also, when you're looking at the application, you'll find we've added notes in red trying to give you hints on how to apply for the application. So for instance, one of the errors that we're seeing frequently is as people are putting their IN number or their Social Security number in, they're putting dashes in there, and it'll tell you in red, don't put any dashes. And so what happens is we don't get your full EIN number, or we don't get your full Social Security number. So that will just slow down the process. So if you'll look for those things, those will be really very helpful. All your documents that you hand in have got to be signed. So handing in a lease that is unsigned doesn't inform us if you've got an ongoing current lease. And so make sure that the documents that you're handing in that you're using as your supporting documents are final executed documents that have your signature and would have the signature of the person that had your mortgage or lease. The other thing we're looking for is we want to make sure your business name is consistent through all the documents and stuff. So you may have a formal business name, but you may be doing business in another name. You just need to make sure that as we are reviewing all these documents, there's a clear trail. There's an easy way for us to say, gosh, this is Fred's Cafe, and we can see that, and it flows all the way through the documents so that we know that we've got an actual company that's applied for the program. And then also those addresses, having those addresses match across those forms are really important as well. And I would also say we can't accept P.O. boxes, so you need to also provide the physical address for your company so we know where your company is actually located and not a P.O. box.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you, Laura.
Sure.
And then actually, I'll let you do this slide too because it's you guys. So.
Absolutely. So if you are looking to find information on this, if you're looking for a Q&A, helpful hints on what you're going to, if you want to know what are the documents that Holly covered and you want to see those ahead of time, go to CLT City Grant, so you can email CLT City Grant at FFTC, or our website is www.fftc.org/CLT City Grant. So you're going to find lots of information. But sometimes it really helps to talk with someone. Let's say you've got that application up and you're stuck right at that affidavit and you want to have someone to talk to, please call 704-998-6499. Again, that's 704-998-6499. We have team members that are there that are waiting for your call that can help you walk through those things. So if you've got those trickier questions while you're filling out the application, call them. If you've got questions really specific to your business and you want to know, am I eligible? Call in. We'd be glad to answer those questions. That's why we're there. We're really trying to make this as easy as possible and help make these funds very accessible to all the small businesses in Charlotte.
That's awesome. And actually, we've already gotten some questions in, but I figure there's one that's really good to go ahead and ask. So what is the deadline to apply for the grant?
Well, you can go ahead and submit your application at any time. We're going to be releasing 3 rounds of checks. So that we'll have a first round that'll go out June 30th. We'll have a second round that will go out July 6th, and then a final round on August 30th. So anytime you can send your information in, and I would encourage you, the sooner you can get it in, the better. We are selecting these applications each day randomly, and so we're picking those that we're reviewing, and if you are randomly selected and you are eligible for the application and meet the criteria, you're going to be selected. So the sooner your application is, the more likely you are, because you could possibly be randomly selected each day. So just know that the sooner the better, but there's plenty of time yet to apply for these grants.
Okay. So can you maybe dive into because we just got a question into about how will the grant recipients be selected? Can you just dive a little bit more into that random selection process? I know that there have been some questions about that in the community, and I know you have really good answers around that.
Yeah, we'd be glad to. The reason we're doing random selection is because one of the criticisms that I think we heard, and I think the task force was really responding to, is that when money came out from the federal government on the PPP side of things, it was kind of whoever was there first was eligible for these funds. And so we wanted to try to level that playing field. And so it just wasn't a matter of who was in the door first, but that companies that may need access and may need more support and longer to get that information, that they had a chance to get these funds as well. So the reason we decided to go with the random application is really so that we're not giving all the money out and out the door, and don't give all businesses a fair chance to have access to the money. So that's the reasoning behind why we went with the random selection. Now, the way we're doing that, we're using a computer and using a software algorithm that goes in each day and selects these applications. So the foundation is not going in and personally selecting these. We're using a computer doing that. So for instance, if we know that we need to review 25 applications today, and we've had 100 that's submitted, the computer would go in and essentially select every 4th application and spits those out. So every 4th business are the ones that we would review that day for consideration.
Awesome. That's a great explanation. So we've got some other ones here. The question is, I own a business with several locations. Can I apply for every location? And I can answer that one. You may submit only one application for all locations within the city of Charlotte, and really all businesses. If you own multiple businesses, we're just trying to keep it to one business owner. We can restrict that. And then Laura, somebody asked about, they said English is not their first language. Is it available in different languages? Do you have those languages that that the application is available in?
Yeah, absolutely. The application is available obviously in English, Spanish, Chinese, French, Vietnamese, and Nepali.
Yeah. Awesome. And there are, go ahead, please.
And so let me add a comment, if I may, Laura. I think that's truly an example of this program being inclusive, and we're trying to meet the businesses where they are. So thank you all for being creative, because I don't think that's something that the Small Business Task Force thought about. We were just ready to roll out the website, but for you all to say, let's put it in 5 different languages, I think it's just a big kudos how you all want to be inclusive. So thank you.
Yeah. Let me also add that if we have other individuals in our community that may be disabled in other ways, and we can help support those individuals, please reach out to us. We will absolutely do whatever we can to make sure that this information is accessible in a way that really helps you access these funds.
So another question just came in, and it's asked, will I be notified if I make a mistake on my application or need to provide additional information?
Yeah, we're trying to go back and take a look at those that have, made one or a few mistakes, and have a chance to try to reach back out to those folks as well. It will help us in terms of the process because we're getting lots of applications. If you will take that time up front, but where we see something that seems like a really honest mistake or, maybe a typo, we're going to try our best to try to reach back out to all those companies and try to give them another chance to get that information back to us.
That's awesome. So I can answer this next one. It says, once I receive funding, do they have to complete any more paperwork? And I can answer this one. The only thing that you have to report back to us is a very brief survey that we will send probably in September and follow up to how you spent those funds and just some additional information. But yes, that's the only paperwork that would need to be filled out. And then we've got the question too that came in, that they're a CEO of a nonprofit within the city of Charlotte. Can they apply? And please go ahead.
No, the way the city has designed this program, the nonprofits will not be eligible for funding from this program.
Excellent, yeah, and I want to just echo that. When you look at businesses that are 25 and under, there's close to 11,000 of those within the city, and even with $30,000, we look at around 2,100 awards going out, so we still can't even meet the demand there. But yes, I want to just reiterate why we picked the nonprofit, or why we picked the for-profit company status under 25.
Holly, may I?
Mm-hmm, please.
So, Laura, for those who probably say, what is the outreach program? Can you talk about the good work at using the Y and then Pride PR as well? Can you just share about the outreach strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. The foundation is really excited. We're partnering with two amazing organizations. One is Pride PR, who is helping us really guide and manage our outreach effort for the city of Charlotte on this program. So we're thrilled to be partnering with them on this strategy. So we are doing our best to get the words out. So hopefully you're seeing our billboards around the community. We have, social media that is hitting. We have tried to be in every publication that we can think of in Charlotte. We have been shameless in our efforts to kind of promote this all throughout the city. So we hope that you're not only seeing it tonight, but you're seeing it throughout the community. And then starting on July 20th, we have a fabulous partnership with our Ys, and we'll be setting up in somewhere between 8 and 10 different Y locations around the community. Centers where on July 20th, any company that's having trouble applying will have the opportunity to come directly in and have someone support them in that center. So we are there. If you've got questions and you want to come directly to one of those Y locations, we would love for you to come in and sit down, get those questions answered. If you need us to put that application in for you, we will sit side by side with you and we will help you enter that application. If you're having trouble scanning those documents, bring those documents in, start your application, bring those documents in, and we'll have a scanner there that we can get your documents scanned. So these offices are going to be there with people that are trained to help you get this application in. So don't let the lack of technology or the lack of sophistication around technology or if your scanner is broken, come in. We want to help you. So we will be throughout the community. During this time frame, we're also going to be doing some canvassing in local communities. So you may see someone come by your business. They're going to have bright green, open for business t-shirts on. And so you'll be able to identify them immediately, and they'll have flyers about this program. So just know that you may see those individuals coming throughout the community to try to spread this information as well.
Thank you. We appreciate your work and your effort.
So another question. My business has already received PPP funding. Can I apply for this program? Laura, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, certainly you can apply, but the city has been really clear in their instruction to us that initially we are taking those applications and we're kind of putting them to the side, and we first want to get dollars out to businesses that have not had a chance to receive maybe a PPP loan or a state Golden Leaf loan or one of the city's small micro loans. So it's not that their applications are being forgotten, but we want to try to give a first shot at this money for those who have not received. And then if we get at the end of this program and we find that all the funds aren't utilized, we'll look to the city to get their direction on how they want us to move forward with those who may have received funding in another resource.
Okay, so the next question is, and I think this is a good one that I did not cover, I normally do. If my firm is not selected for the first phase, will I be considered for the second phase? So go for it.
You may cover that one, or you want
Please go for it, yep.
Absolutely. So you only need to put in the application once, and it makes you eligible throughout the entire process. So don't worry about putting in a second, application. When you put in your application, just know when you put it in, you should receive a confirmation. If you've submitted it correctly, you'll receive a confirmation back. So just know that it's in and it's good for that complete length of time.
Okay, excellent. So I've got a couple here about employees. So I'm trying to make sure I combine everything. So the first question is, there's someone with a restaurant with a mix of full-time and part-time employees. Can they still apply? And the answer is, if you have under 25 employees, that's perfectly fine. And that if you're applying for the 6 to 25 category, above 6 to 25 employees up to, for a $25,000 grant, then you would need to provide a W-3 that lists out those employees. And
Can I add something, Molly?
Please, yes, absolutely.
Just want to mention that sometimes, for instance, a restaurant, for instance, may have less than 25 employees, but in a given year, they may have employees that come in and out. So if we look at their W-3, it may say 34 employees, but they really only have 25 at one given time. So if that is the case, and you never have more than 25 employees at one time, but your W-3 shows more than that, please put in another document that would verify that you only have 25 employees, so that we wouldn't kick you out by looking at that W-3. So again, try to help us with the information that would have let us know to approve that.
Yeah, that's an awesome clarification. I do remember you and I talking about that one, so I'm so glad that question came up. Mm-hmm. So in the employee count, do only full and part-time employees count, or can you count contractors or 1099s?
Just accounting the part-time and full-time employees.
And again, only if you're applying for a grant for 6 to 25 employees, that level, the $25,000, do you need to submit any documentation of your employees? 0 to 5 is self-reporting. So this is a question, and I can take this one. The question is, when is the Micro Business Relief Fund grant going to open back up? And so for anyone on this webinar, just to tell you what that is, in May of this year, early May of this year, I can't remember the exact date, City Council awarded $1 million in community development block grant funding to set up what is the Micro Business Relief Fund. That fund is being administered by LISC. And so what LISC is doing right now, it is, I will say, a much more complicated program to administer than the one that we're here talking about tonight. And so LISC is working with the current applicants to get in the necessary paperwork. We also have to work extensively with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which again just adds another layer of paperwork and time. So that's a much more technical assistance, hands-on process. So I would say we need to get through that first before then we can assess what to do with, if there are any remaining funds, kind of what the next steps are. So stay tuned. Let's see. Oh, just some. Here's a good one. So one of the questions mentioned PPP, and then someone asked, does receiving an EIDL grant from SBA also put you in at a lower priority? And the answer is yes. It's any federal, state, or the Micro Business Relief Fund I just talked about, that $1 million. If you've received funding in any of those categories that's COVID-19 impact related, then you are a lower priority. However, we really, really encourage you to still submit an application because in the event that we are able to go through all of those the applications that we have that are eligible that have not received those funding previously, then we will start working through random selection of the ones that have received that funding. So please, please do submit your application. We would love to have you in the running. Okay, so this is a question. My business is headquartered in Raleigh, but I have a satellite office in Charlotte. Can I apply for funding? And the answer is no. The business must be headquartered within the city limits of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I think Laura's point too, we need a physical address within the city limits. We do not need a PO. We cannot accept that. I just wanted to restate that again. I think that's very, very important. And so there's another question about how the applications are selected. So Laura, I hate to make you do this again, but do you mind just doing it one more time? Because I know this is I've actually got two that came in around that question. So just one more time, if you don't mind doing it. I think it's really important that people hear this process.
Yeah, I'd be glad to do it again. We are randomly selecting these applications by geography. So we are making sure that ultimately the applications will be spread across our city. And we are doing that on a daily basis, that random selection. We are doing that random selection using a computer software. So again, I used the example earlier, but I'll give you another one. If we are going to review 50 applications in a day, and we have 200 applications to pull in, we tell the computer that we need 50 applications. And again, it would go in and would put every fifth application and pull those out. The computer is not looking at the specific information in the application, so it's not going in and it's not looking at address. It is not looking at any of the information in the application. It is just randomly selecting from a list of every fifth one. And so that those are the ones that end up getting pulled and assigned to those people that are going to review them. Those reviewers that then look at it and say, is this company eligible? And if that company is eligible and meets all the criteria, has completed the application correctly, then you're given an award. So that's how it works.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you again for describing that. I think it's a really important process to talk about. So there are a couple of questions here around this. So I'm just going to ask the one here in front of me, but I know this should address a few people who've sent them in. So are there restrictions for how long you have been in business in order to qualify? And the answer is yes. Your business must start prior to January 1st, 2020. And then there's another question, and then I'm going to do an explanation around both of these together. Another question that somebody asked about not having enough, they don't have for 2019 gross sales of $30,000. Do they qualify? And the answer is no for this program. Again, it's $30,000 to $2 million is what we're looking for, somewhere in that range for gross sales in 2019. And the reason for this, because we get a lot of questions around this as well, is that's how this program is designed. Again, we've been there with the Foundation for the Carolinas and designing this truly around what we would have to report to the federal government, what we will have to report to the federal government. And because this is designed with that gross sales amount in mind, if we did something for a business that started after January 1st, 2020 and on, or had lower gross sales of $30,000, it would need to be a different application process. So there would be a whole other level of sort of review. So that's why we are sticking to this threshold right here. There's a question, if I'm disabled, is there a way I can get help with the application? Laura, I'll let you take that one.
Absolutely. We want to make this as accessible as possible. So whatever is your means for communicating with us, if you can pick up the phone, if you need to send a letter communication, email, whatever's easiest for you, let us know and describe how we can assist you with this process. We will do whatever it takes to try to make this as accessible as possible. So please let us know what you need, and we will try to meet you there to provide that for you.
Awesome. So I actually don't have any other questions. It doesn't look like any more are coming in. Let's turn it back over. We'll turn it back over to Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Mitchell, and D'Alba.
Thank you all. That was great, Laura. It's helpful for us to even hear all of that information as you're starting to kind of dig into the details of that. So we appreciate everybody's time on this call. And if we don't have any other questions, let me just, put my notes here. D'Alba, if we don't have any other questions from the commission, I just want to thank you all for putting this together tonight. We appreciate the time that you take as a volunteer to help the small community. And we want to thank all of our small business community members, owners, entrepreneurs, managers for joining in the conversation. Of course, everybody should continue to reach out. We've had a lot of people contact us individually, and Mr. Mitchell has as well. Please continue to do that. And if we don't have the answers, we'll call Laura. So no, we'll find them. So I appreciate it, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it?
Yeah, you want to say?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Holly was telling me you can talk now. It should be just a big thank you to the Small Business Task Force members, to our partner foundations for the Carolina. And I got to say it to our staff, you have to think about the timeline we was able to implement this program. We received the funds about the third week in April, and we were able to launch something June 22nd. So sometimes government does move slowly, but in this particular time, I think we really felt the pain, and we heard the call from our small business community. So I just really appreciate everyone jumping in. And instead of looking at the barriers, we say, how can we make it happen? So thank you for the can-do attitude and the collaboration. And I'm going to leave you with this. It is Access to Capital Grant Program. And I think that's important, because one thing we did receive feedback from the small business community was incurring more debt. So this is an Access to Capital Grant Program. With that, thank you, Holly, for allowing me to participate. Thank you, D'Alba, for allowing me to participate this evening.
Thank you.
So, D'Alba, do you have any final words that you would like to leave us with?
I really wanted to say thank you to everyone, again, for putting this together. As a small business owner, I too have felt and still feel many of the constraints that have been caused by the pandemic, and we're still enduring many of the impact, or much of the impact. So thank you for making this available. I am very proud to be in Charlotte, and that this is an unprecedented program and the first in the country. I think that's an amazing thing. And so I just want to thank the council for making this available, for engaging community as a part of the process. Thank you to the staff and the foundation for the great work that you're doing, but also really thank you to the city of Charlotte. I think our small business community collectively have really shown a great deal of resistance and a lot of heart and collaboration during this very difficult time in our nation, with everything that's going on in our nation. And so I'm proud to be a part of Charlotte and look forward to this program blossoming and growing. I do want to remind everyone who's listening today that this is the first phase of the program. This is the survive phase. We have a lot of exciting things coming out in the thrive phase as well to make sure that businesses are able to thrive, sustain, and grow around some really common core and foundational issues that small businesses have. I've been in business for a long time, so I think I'm a great test case, as is some of the other members on the I can tell you about all of my problems over the years. And so I'm just happy that this work is happening here in the city, and thank you, everyone.
Awesome. All right, have a great night. Thanks
Thanks,
for joining.
everybody.
Bye.